Welcome, Carsten Gruber, to Marketing Masters, the art and science of modern marketing. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'll give you guys a bit of an intro to Carsten. He is pretty impressive. His CV is what I would call the mega thruple of the big names of the world. But he is the country manager for TikTok New Zealand for the past couple of years. And before that, he lived in Berlin, where he was the head of commercial partnerships and sales lead for 3 years. He also crafted his passion for social at Facebook and has spent nearly 4 years and then over 8 years at Google. I mean, it's the holy trinity. I wanted to get in today to kind of try and help. I think a lot of businesses, when they think of TikTok, they kind of don't really know. I mean, they think it's cool and they think it's for the kids and they think, oh yeah, I know I need to do that, but do I need to do that? It would be cool if you could just give us a bit of a wow moment.
The usage time is around 100 minutes per day, which is about the length of a film. Obviously, there's some heavy users that spend even more time. So again, the 100 minutes plus minus is the average time, right? But then you have some people that spend most of the time on TikTok and are less so on linear TV and are less so on news apps and are less so on Netflix, and those obviously skew stronger on our platform. And myself, for example, I'm a little bit everywhere, right? So I don't think I'm one of those that hits those 100 and plus minutes on platform.
Is it just for the young ones?
So the young ones that have been on platform for quite a while already, right? So they've been on platform for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years and longer. They're still there. They're still enjoying the platform, but the growth we actually see in the other demographics.
And lots of mumfluencers as well.
Yeah. That we have as well.
Yeah, the mums are coming.
Yeah.
How does the algorithm work? And what are those key influence factors in terms of getting your content to be more visible? What I've really noticed recently is that most of the posts that I put up, and I think it happens to my clients as well, is 98% or 90% of it goes on the For You page. So those are people who are not following me. So is that part of the key? Is that to succeed, you kind of have to I think it's be great at storytelling or have to resonate with a lot of people?
Yeah. So I think the comment you made about you're never 100% sure what content really flies is something I've heard from very good influencers that really understand the platform, that have wide audiences, that are very successful on platforms. So that has obviously nothing to do with what you produce for platform, but what some of the basics are that when you join the platform, you get prompted by a number of questions. Your gender, age, your interests, and your preferences. And that is a first kind of a baseline for the app to understand who you are and what kind of content likely will resonate with you. Right, that's the first step. But as you set up your profile and as you spend time on platform, there's all these little micro signals you give, and that goes across platforms. The content you watch from beginning to end, the content you flick over very quickly, the content you like, the content you share, the content you comment, and all of these micro signals, not only micro signals, but also so bigger signals that you're giving in your engagement with the content, will make the algorithm learn. So the algorithm constantly learns and gets a better understanding of the kind of content you potentially would like to see. And there's times as well, and you will notice that as well. You mentioned that you spend quite a lot of time on the platform, is when the algorithm is prompting you with something completely new, with something that you haven't seen before, where you would say maybe the first instant you go, well, that's not me. Because again, the algorithm is prompting you. You have been watching that kind of content over the past few weeks, but maybe do you also like this? And as you flick over quickly, then that is again a signal for the algorithm that I'm not interested in that. Please don't show me this again, right? If you stay on the content, then the algorithm goes, oh, well, there might be something new that Zania is interested in. And let me feed a little bit more to her and see if that is something that she wants to explore even further.
And that's where I think it leads into that my next question, which is what types of content perform best? Because in the types and the style and the way that the kind of things that do perform, and people talk about how you need to lean back into storytelling and creativity, is that the key?
Our mission is to bring joy and inspire creativity. That's TikTok's mission. And you can learn quite a lot, or you can take out quite a lot from that mission statement to have a better understanding what actually works on platform, right? Because most people come on platform to be either entertained, to be inspired in relation to the creative stuff that they find on platform. So that is the baseline for potentially what could make really good content, and that works for a creator that has a specific topic that they want to share with the community, but that also goes for brands, right? It also goes for brands. Brands have to be willing to become a part of the conversation, a part of the entertainment, a part of the education of their audiences on platform, and when they lean into that. That's when magical stuff kind of happens, right?
I think of a brand, Mecca. They do amazing on TikTok. You probably don't follow them because it's a makeup brand, but they are their staff, they've got the community, they've got everything. It's that they've got amazing reviews and stories and first to market and all sorts of things. And they even, it's one I often talk about when I'm talking with clients, because they even in their financial report, I think it was last year, said that one of the biggest reasons for their massive success was because of allowing their staff to all have mobile phones and help create content for TikTok and not try and curate it too much. So that's what I'm interested in, is that idea of
polished versus...
Is it polished versus the kind of just realness? Authentic has been bashed around so much, but...
Yeah, it has been bashed around quite a lot, but it's still it's super impactful when it comes to your TikTok strategy, right? Polished can work when it's for a bigger hero campaign, as long as the heartbeat of the platform is still understood, right? So polish can also work, but in general, for the smaller, always-on kind of communication and campaigns on platform, less polish just works better. More authentic, more raw, more the look behind the scene, more the look, when it's not perfectly done, when something drops, when something looks like it wasn't 100% planned, is better. I fully understand it's also there's also risk of giving, I don't know how much staff a mobile phone and then actually communicating on behalf of the company. I think that can be done so long as the communicators and the staff actually knows this is what I can do, and these are the 2-3 no-goes I should not do. And then every brand and also their staff, they learn by the steps that they're taking, they gain confidence, and with that, you need to have a little bit of patience for the content to become, really good for the platform.
And is it video is king and static is just don't bother, or is it that now you can be more creative and you can do video and carousels and static posts, and you don't need to be limited with just video, or is it that video is king and it's not going anywhere?
So I think for sure we're video first platform, and we're always exploring other formats all the time, right? So and that's something that here again you should probably explore as a creator or as a brand, because there might be specific campaigns where that actually static kind of works, or a mixture of static, pictures would work for a specific campaign. But in general, I would say we're moving picture platform first. Yeah.
And what is the ultimate strategy? Because you must have worked with lots of different brands. And I do believe you talked about how, I think it was the Les Mills case study that I saw recently that you were talking about, and how they were doing a real hard performance model and then they've shifted to a funnel model. Is it that there is a certain strategy that would work best for brands if they're trying to reach their target audience and to be successful? Is it not to lean in, that actually to be successful in TikTok, you play through the funnel and you can have performance marketing as well as that big reaching storytelling pieces, and that actually it's all of that together that works best? Yeah,
the strategy is very individual for brand, for a specific campaign that you are planning. So, I'm not a strong believer that one size fits it all. Mm-hmm. One strategy fits every specific campaign around a specific product or services a brand wants to deliver. So that specific case study you mentioned was the Les Mills case study was a strong focus on performance only.
Yeah.
But what they found out at a later stage was that brand focus actually supports a performance in hindsight very much, right? So
yeah.
So it is a lot of test and learn, and there's no company that just comes on platform and is successful from the get-go, right? Mm-hmm. So that it is a learning process, also connected to a measurement learning agenda, usually where brands really get better on platform.
Quite a lot of medium-sized businesses I don't think are even on TikTok yet, and I think there's room for them to be there. Is there not kind of like a good starting strategy that they would consider to get amongst it?
It is better to take many small steps than trying to figure out the perfect strategy with the perfect assets, with the excellent matching creator, and then feel like it's gonna work well. Because as you mentioned at the beginning, right, some of the content you produce and you think, now I've nailed it.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. And it would be a very frustrating thing for a brand that prepares, months for a very specific campaign launch. They go on platform for the first time and they think they have everything they need. Everything is perfectly set up, and then it tanks, right? And then the potential is that there's going to be a pretty long pause on platform, because then they'll feel, well, this platform is not for us. We've done everything right, but obviously not. So taking, and that goes for the small brands as well as the bigger brands, right? Being present on platform in the form of marketeers need to be on platform to understand the rhythm of the platform, what is trending on platform, how can I take part in this conversation without being cringy, without jumping on a trend way too late. So these are all challenges that you may have. But on the other hand, going on platform on TikTok is also pretty easy, right? You do not need to have a profile to leverage the advertising power and the audiences on TikTok. You can go on platform with an asset and be very successful. It doesn't have to be a perfect match for TikTok. It needs to have some kind of delivery of creativity in there, some kind of entertainment aspect in there, and something educational in there, and then you will nail it. But you do not need to be very strong present on platform to be successful with a marketing campaign. Yeah,
because you can do some really amazing ad formats and clever ways to reach people.
Yeah.
And so what is the ultimate posting strategy for a brand on TikTok? Is it that they should be going, like, I listen to Gary Vee, who has been in media, And he's like, post as much as you can. And then we had our event recently where Rachel was speaking, and that was kind of the theme that came out of it, was post as much as you can organically, learn, and then take the kind of winning lessons and then put money behind those and kind of back the horses that seem to resonate, because then you're going to only have better reach and better engagement on your paid ads. So, but that idea of brands having to post daily on a platform is quite, or if they could, daily or every other day, feels like a lot. And what is the view on that?
Quality over quantity, right? Quality over quantity, and our platform doesn't quite work like others, right? Because there's less of a tendency of following specific creators. It is more, you spend more time on the For You feed. And the For You feed, the content is pushed upwards, related to your specific interests and likes, right? So telling a brand you have to produce at least 4 TikToks a week, or as you said, daily, it doesn't work like that on our platform. So I think you're better off thinking about what are the things that are working well on platform. How can I take part in this conversation? What are some of the things I know that the audience would expect to hear from me, right? And I think brands often don't know on what a pile of knowledge they sit on that they could potentially share with the audience, and that the audience is really, really interested in, right? I mean, there is not one brand that has nothing to say or nothing to educate their audiences on what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing things the way they're doing it, how they're producing products, how they're delivering the services. There is such a huge opportunity, and that is specifically something you can leverage organically, right? Mm. So if you feel like you want to have an organic presence, and I think organic presence and good advertising kind of like play hand in hand. They don't have to, but they play hand in hand. If you really want to embrace the platform, there's a potential of being much more unhinged and humorous in your conversation when you educate on platform. Ideally,
they're doing organic and paid. Ideally,
yes, because it's also a learning process, right? Mm. If you only produce advertising content for the platform, you would only use one arm of what the power that TikTok has to offer for brands. So leaving out organic is just leaving a potential that the platform has to offer to a brand.
And is it that the organic, it will give me insights, and it's using those insights? So that idea of you're kind of putting the horses out on the field to have a race, and then the one that takes off and organically, you go, okay, that horse is going to win, so I'm going to take that horse and put some money behind it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one way
and put more of a kind of performance angle on it with a shop now and a button to buy, directing them to the site, so that it's actually, but using a creative that's already resonated.
Yeah, so Spark Ads is one way of giving your organic content an additional spin. So if you see specific organic content is really resonating well with the audiences, there's a way of increasing the reach of that specific piece of content if it suits your marketing goals and so forth. And it's a very easy lift, as a matter of fact, right? You have an organic content that obviously the audience has already said, love that piece of content. And it's a quality approval. It's highly likely that this piece of content is also going to resonate well with a wider audience when you distribute that through Spark Ads.
And so talking about Spark Ads and the different kinds of ads that you offer, and I know that I've seen some really amazing presentations where you guys talk about how, you're not just a reach platform, you've got performance offerings and also, and you can work through the funnel, and there's lots of really amazing insights that you offer potential advertisers to kind of help them get their heads around what's possible on the platform. Could you give us a bit of a rundown of like the kinds of things that advertisers can do?
So there's a couple of key formats that we, that advertisers should be well aware of. One is a classic. It's our hero ad or our billboard ad, which is a top view, which is basically the first ad that anyone sees when they open the app on the first advertising that they see. So it's a billboard format, and depending if the advertiser has actually taken a 100% share of voice that day, then really every Kiwi that comes on platform opens the platform, sees that first ad, right? So that's one form of advertising. Then we have
great if you're trying to get a message out really quickly and mass
100%.
reach.
So if you have a big new product that you want to launch into a market, a new service that wasn't there before, that's exactly the kind of format you want to choose. Then there's also another similar kind of ad, which is called a top feed, which would be in your feed the very first ad that pops up. So not when you open the app, but when you open the app and you go through a little bit of content, the first ad that appears is what we call a top feed. So it's also a very nice way of having first foot in the door when it comes to ads, as a matter of fact, right? So that's also a nice format.
And try not to make it look like an ad, because then they will look at it. They won't do
sure.
that.
I mean, that by the way, that goes along for all the ads on TikTok. You do not want to just have an ad promoting a product. You want to make sure it's entertaining, right? That's what audiences come on a platform for. They want to be entertained. Now, our audience have a lot of power when it comes to how much of an ad do they see.
The thumb.
They can just flick over it.
Yeah.
And then it's a waste of time, right? So if consumers basically tell you, I want to spend time with you as a brand. So while you spend time with them, right, you want to make it as entertaining and as valuable for them as possible, right? They will remember you for that, right? So make it fun, make it educational, make it surprising. Surprise the audiences with something that that they may not have seen from you on other channels, right? You can be a little bit unhinged on our platform.
I think that's why I keep saying Mecca, because they keep popping up in my feed, and then I realise that they're ads, but they look like they're so native. They look like
ads,
they
look
obviously
like resonate with you.
Well,
right?
yeah, but they do it. They do almost do them exactly how they would do the organic feed.
Yeah.
So you don't even realise, apart from the product link,
that
you can go and buy. It's always like a product review or like a trying on or something, and you.
Well, you can see. I mean, obviously, you can see the difference between an ad or on organic.
It's quite
when
subtle.
you look a little bit down to the bottom left, you should see
there's a
sponsored or not, right? So,
but it's done because they do it in a way that feels quite seamless.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it's interrupting, and that's why I think it's kind of a good example. Because I'll give it time and I'm like, oh yeah, I already follow Mecca and I'm into what they do. And so then suddenly something comes up and you can buy the latest product. It's such a great journey.
The other one that's maybe a little bit further down the funnel is the, and we'll speak about funnel in a moment because it's not 100% accurate for TikTok, I would say. So is standard feed, which is basically in auction, in feed auction ads, right? That just pop up somewhere in your feed at some point, right? But from a funnel perspective, right? So we look at the funnel more like as an infinity loop, and you may have heard that if you've been across some of our presentations. Infinity loop. Why? Because at the end of the day, somewhere in the user journey, somebody may see an ad. That ad may resonate with them. They might buy the product, or if they buy the product, there may be a review of the product. There may be an unboxing of the product, and on and on and on. It goes, right. Yeah. So, and then other viewers see that unboxing, get interested, and engage with the product, buy the product, and so forth. So, from our perspective, less of that classic funnel, but more of an infinity loop. on our platform.
So interesting. And what are the ad campaigns that you kind of think are standouts at the moment? Do you have any examples on TikTok that you love?
So I mean, there's always some that kind of pop up, but the one we kind of like we brushed on already is LMI, Les Mills, really leaning into platform, and there was a little bit of a mixture of creatives, of in-house talent, of external created branded assets, turning that into a really amazing and very positive campaign for them. And basically they outperformed, all other channels by 53% by having that perfect mix of, different levers that they've used. So that was a standout campaign. And
was that for instructors or clubs? To get instructors or clubs?
That was for Les Mills Plus. So
for their on-demand. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's very cool. It's a really, amazing platform and amazing company, and so cool to see case studies like that coming out.
Yeah. But even last year when we first set up our business here in New Zealand, we had a year where telcos were very much leaning in. That was also related to Vodafone's, Vodafone turning into One, so the rebrand. So One was very much lean into platform. We had, the CEO Jason Paris was a part of some of the creatives.
That was one of my favorite moments when he was being read the comments.
Absolutely,
the community
the meme feeds, right? Yeah. Was a good campaign. It was a fun campaign. Was entertaining, right? So it had all these points that I mentioned earlier. If you're on platform, if you get the audience attention, entertain them, or bring something to them that they will remember you for.
Definitely was one of the ones that stood out to me.
And then when you have that, and obviously the competitors are also jumping on board. So other telcos have been quite good on our platform.
Skinny.
It's a great example. They were really, really good. What they have done well is that they basically have an in-house creator, somebody who is actually a creator on platform already, and who is quite brilliant in producing advertising content that is really, really entertaining and still gets the message of the marketing message across in a very smart and platform native way.
Which is another really clever idea. Like they identified a creator that could come in house, and kind of be the face of Skinny, to tell the story in an entertaining way. And people really, he's hilarious.
Yeah,
such a dry sense of humor, but like really,
it's
and
really
he's brilliant.
Yeah, there's a resource aspect to everything, right? So not every brand can just get somebody on board that is now their face on TikTok, right, or their TikTok moderator for the brand. But what you should always think of as a brand is that short form video format is here to stay, right?
Yeah.
And it is a growing format where, we're not done yet. And that format lives on various platforms. So even if you don't think of, I'm going to get myself a TikTok moderator, get somebody that is across all short form video formats, right? Short form video formats lives on TikTok, but it also lives on Meta, Instagram. It lives on, TikTok Reels. Now, short form again is here to stay, and again it lives across many different platforms. So it's not like shorts. You're only YouTube Shorts, of course. You're not engaging somebody just for one platform, but you're engaging somebody that is producing content potentially that can, with small adaptation, be very successful.
That's the trick
across all platforms.
Yeah, right? It's the adaptation. Yeah. It's the fonts, the tracks, the music tracks. Like
it's the trends.
The trends. Like very demure, very mindful. I think that's where, for me, it's really interesting the offering of brands or small businesses working with influencers or brand ambassadors.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get your kind of thoughts on the benefits and some of the things to watch out for.
So obviously, working with creators has a lot of benefits, right? Creators understand the platform. They know in a way a creator can be your asset production, and they also fully understand what works on the platform. So you don't have to think so much about what trends are going on and so forth, right? If you're not so much lean on the platform and you don't have a team that is actually very much leaned on platform. Again, my suggestion is always know where you are present before you start being present on platform, because it'll also be helpful when you brief a creator. And the brief for a creator should always be quite loose, right? Because you don't want to suffocate the creativity, right, by giving too many guardrails. There should be guardrails that are like no-go zones, no-go areas, right? And that is fine. But the rest should be pretty much up to the creator feeling and having the confidence to understand what is the overall goal, what's the overall message I need to get across. But how I do that is my job to do, right? Because then the creator has the creative, freedom to actually use all the tools he has at his disposal, and what makes him specifically to that creator that he's good at, right? So a creator has usually have an audience, right? And I would not always like recommend for a brand go for the creators with a large audience, right? I think it's more important to have a creator that matches you, that potentially, like let's say a bank uses a creator that is has financial advice to give, right? So using somebody like that already can leverage, has a specific trust as a creator around finances. So it makes sense to use somebody like that. But it doesn't have to be, right? It could also be a creator that just understands the beat of the platform, the pace of the platform, what is trending right now, and has the ability of transforming what is happening on platform and mixing it up with a message or with the goal of the campaign that the brand wants to drive forward, right? So I think it has a lot of benefits, but working with creators is not a must in regards to having a successful marketing campaign, right? Great assets work perfectly well in a marketing campaign, but working with creators could be for the bigger hero campaigns that you want to drive forward, where you want to get a lot of visibility in various kind of like channels, right? So that is a way of working with creators.
And do you think there's any watch outs that brands should be mindful of? Like, I think that one you said before about the right creators, choose the ones that most align with your brand.
Yes. So the watch out is that, just making sure, having brand safety in mind, right? If there's, make sure the creator that you engage, right? Know the creator well, know, what has happened in the past.
Their lifestyle.
Yeah. Depending on how conservative as a brand you are, you may want to know creators well that are going to be your ambassador, even if it's only for a specific period of time. And the bigger platforms, including ourselves, of course, we kind of take a look at those creators, and we will have something to say about those creators. And we're supportive also in the matchmaking of creators that are used in bigger creator campaigns. So we do an initial kind of like, curating of, related to the brief, a curating of creators. We share that with the brands. The brands can say, yes, no, yes, and then creators start producing the content. And here again, the brands have, the final say about what kind of assets are going to be, played out on their behalf, right? So it is a pretty safe kind of space where it's not live. Now, working with live creators is a different story, right? But it's in the sense of what we're discussing right now. It's not live. So you have the final say about the asset that is going to be used for a campaign. So
wow, live would be a whole other world of, oh my goodness. That would be interesting. I've not even thought about having, I know it's big in Asia. They do, there's a really famous one where there's a woman and she stands there and she literally holds up an outfit for like literally a second.
A few seconds, yes.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And she does that for like hours and sells millions of dollars worth of clothes. Amazing.
But even those creators, right? I mean, they themselves are a brand. They themselves, create value for themselves through those campaigns. So it's also in their interest of, doing things right. Yeah.
And so AI, unless you're under a rock, is revolutionizing marketing and tools and ways of creating content all over the world. And there's so many amazing, exciting things that are happening. Is TikTok integrating AI in a way to help brands and creators work smarter, not harder?
So it's already happening, but more of that is gonna happen, right? So personalizing the user experience on TikTok, ensuring that delivering the right targeted content to people on platform. The recommendations of content, all of that is AI driven, right? So there's a tendency of thinking of AI of something that is happening in the future, but it's already happening right now. Right? It's happening,
and it has been happening,
and it has been happening for many years. So I think this will happen more so, really to enhance satisfaction of people coming onto platform. Having content that is really tailored, and we already talked about tailored content to your personal interest and preferences. So all of these things are happening as we speak. Right?
And even cooler content creation things,
for sure. I mean, even now, AI is supporting supporting the asset production process where you can multiply, assets and just with a couple of things changing color of backgrounds or what is said, or even from translating content that is produced for an English-speaking market, but then you're going to international markets, and all of a sudden that same piece of content speaks French or German or anything like that. That is still at the beginning, and it's not perfect yet, but not yet means it doesn't mean in a few years. It means not yet means in a few months.
What key metrics should brands track to measure success on their TikTok marketing efforts?
One thing that stands out on TikTok and that relates to producing suitable content for the platform, educational, inspiring, joyous, entertaining, right? So, and here I would say if you hit the nail on one of those, you will drive engagement. If you produce assets that have little engagement, it's highly likely your asset has not worked, right? Has not worked very well. And there's other platforms that are much more about reach. I would say that TikTok is even more about engagement, and engagement is something that you will learn from a lot, right? If there's high engagement, you will know, okay, this direction is pretty good, or this asset has performed better than the other one, even though there were only very small tweaks. So that is something I would, So
focus on the likes, the comments, the shares, the saves,
not so much focus on this as a goal, but it will that delivers quite an insight of whether an asset has been a good one. The communication, around the comments, whether it has been shared, anything like that, content viewed until the end, and so forth. These are all pretty obvious signals that you can use to either optimize a running campaign or have data for your next campaigns and a clear signal if that is the right path for you or not.
And so that idea of being less performance but playing in the funnel or the
loop.
Is it the two working together, I think, is the thing that I'm interested in. Is it that metrics should include, focus on getting people to kind of know you, know who you are, what you're about, and warm to you, and then give you consideration in a moment, and then focus on the conversion, as opposed to just trying to sell.
So the term for that, what we use is brand formance. Right?
Brand-formance, yes. Gary Vee talks about it too, yeah.
Because what obviously, if the branding and later on a stronger performance-focused campaign work well hand in hand. That's exactly where you want to be, and that's where you will see where you will see the biggest impact.
Yeah. How can brands use TikTok analytics to refine their strategies and improve their performance over time?
One of the key factors or metrics that one should look at in the assessment of whether the campaign was good or not is the engagement. And TikTok Analytics basically showcases engagement around a specific campaign, right? So mentioned it before, likes, comments, sharing, all of these. So that's what TikTok Analytics basically does.
I saw there was some research that you guys did where you were talking about, like, don't be afraid to put a price on or to mention a price, like that idea of that you can still do storytelling or have a brand performance ad that's getting people to get more familiar with what the product is and what the price might be. So not being afraid. And I think even when you guys published, it was probably a year ago now, you published some stats. It was showing that actually if you tell someone what the product price is in a creative way, it can actually lift the sales from the ad.
And I think it's about the mixture of content that you produce. Some content should be less transactional, where you bring value to the audience, and then sometimes it's absolutely fine when it's an obvious ad and there's an obvious product or service that is being delivered in that ad. Then of course you can be transactional and say what the price is, and then again, as you mentioned it, if you do that in a creative kind of way, that here again. You'll turn that very transactional advertising into something which might actually be entertaining, and then through that actually resonate with the audience even more so, right?
Yeah.
They'll remember you for it.
And that's the art.
Yeah.
That's where I talk about the art and the science of marketing. Like, it's that creativity meeting a performance-driven ad creative and being able to do that well.
Yeah.
And that's the alchemy of marketing, good marketing. And so how can brands build trust and authenticity on TikTok? What is it that they need to do to really lean in and stand apart and be successful, to succeed? Because that idea of a brand, which has got a brand guidelines and a brand book, like, what does that mean to build the trust and authenticity with brands that you guys have worked with?
It's about the non-transactional content that you produce, the educational content that you produce, bringing value to audiences where they feel actually it is a brand, but this brand is talking about something that they actually should be talking about, that they have knowledge about, that they can support me with, where I'm learning something new that is valuable to me. I think that is how you build trust, and that can be organically, but it can also be like through advertising, if you package that well, right? So I think and continuity as well is something that you don't just pop up now and then, but that you are leveraging the platform and the audiences in a continuous way is also a way of like building trust. That there's also continuity in the strategy of what is produced. So long as it makes sense to the audience, why is that brand producing this kind of like content? Then I think that is a way to make the audience feel that here's a brand that has a little bit more to say than selling specific services or products to me.
I like that idea that you had about taking the questions that you're getting into your call center and turning those into things that you can talk about, because it's something that you're getting asked about regularly. And
then presenting it in a different style
and a more entertaining
than you would exactly on your website, as an example, where you have to there's more brand guidelines that website guidelines that you have to fulfill, but less so when you produce content that lives on a different platform.
I love it because the whole idea of being customer driven, and some of the biggest insights and aha moments that I've had in my career is when you go and you sit in a call center and you listen to the calls.
Yeah.
And it can be so eye-opening. The things that as a marketer you don't think about when you're in amongst it in the day-to-day of what people really care about or what's frustrating them. It's so enlightening. Such a good idea. So in TikTok, one of the most exciting and interesting places is the comment section.
Yeah. And
where I call community, like you as a brand, you can get in and you can be part of those conversations. Called community engagement, so you could, as a brand, could not necessarily, we can jump in on other conversations, not necessarily on your channel, if it's in a positive way, but you can really engage with the people who are engaging with your marketing, and not just be a one-way channel, and actually have it be something that you're building a community around your brand. Do you think that is a thing that helps brands to be even more successful when they lean in? So that idea of not just treating it as a marketing channel, but being a channel that allows for those two-way conversations, so the brand can also learn from the people that are commenting in positive conversations, not the negative ones.
It gives your brand a personality, right? When you engage with communities in the comment section, within organic content, but also in advertising content, right? And you get, if you have the comments on, it's a pool of knowledge that you can actually look at and actually leverage to optimize campaigns, but to also showcase that you're a brand that cares, right? You care about. You potentially care about, when they give you positive feedback. You care about when you get, feedback around what they could do differently, or if they felt the ad was boring, or what part of the ad was boring. I mean, it's like all very valuable content that you should actually leverage, and you should engage with the audiences, right?
Do you know who did it really well? One.
Yeah,
when they put up that Jason Paris video. They actually took the opportunity to then comment back. Like, it was such you could go in. The video was great, but then also the comment section was really
interesting. It was a never-ending campaign, right?
Yeah, it went on and on and on, because it went viral. And that kind of, so hugely successful. I think I love to see brands that do get amongst it, I suppose. But
here again, it's also I can see how this is a challenge for it's a resource topic yet again. You need to have somebody that is actually managing that. You need somebody that feels empowered to talk on behalf of the company, because it's out there, right? If it's not well managed, it could be a negative headline. Right?
Yeah.
So there's all of these things. So it's a resource topic. It's a bit of a confidence topic as well. Do I want to be out there, basically having that communication that could end up anywhere else, right? So, but it's mostly it's a really great opportunity to showcase, to give your brand a more human face. And less of a thing that is out there that makes something for me.
I personally think it's like a secret sauce. And if you do it really well, it can be a magical thing. You've talked about educational videos are becoming quite popular on TikTok. And how can brands do that without it being boring?
One of the main things is don't overthink it too much, and take those little steps, right? It is the most valuable thing is if you have people that are passionate about the platform, the likelihood that they will produce content that is suitable for the platform and are going to grow in the way they produce content on platform is definitely given. So it's a bit of a learning process that you potentially not nail from the first day.
Yeah.
But taking those steps is a first go. There's no, I don't have the, perfect gold.
There's no manuals.
There's no manual. Well, potentially you could produce a manual, but it really is also, it depends so much on the brands and, how they want to be perceived out there.
So if these businesses who are listening are kind of like dabbling, they're not really in there to succeed in their starter kit, they're going to need what? To kind of make a presence on the platform. They're going to need, I suppose, commitment to showing up regularly, testing and learning, trying different things to see what works for them.
Spend time on platform.
Spending time on the platform.
Spend time on platform. Look at what some of the competitors are doing.
Yeah.
See what trends are happening. Potentially also look in other markets around the world. Similar companies. Markets that potentially are already a little bit further in their use of TikTok. Right. I mean, there's so many ways where we can learn. You can learn from a distance, but spending time on platform will give you so many insights of how the content should be curated and produced to be suitable. Doing something new and fresh also goes a long way.
Yeah. That idea of the trends, have you got any tips on where people find out about the trends on TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, there's a specific section where you can watch the latest trends going on TikTok, right? So.
Because I use the one where I go into the search bar and I type in creator search insights. Is the one that I'm using the best?
It's on the search.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so you type in creator search insights and it will come up, and it's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
It even tells you where there are gaps, and like what's trending and what the percentages of trending are on certain terms, and I mean it's incredible. One of the big things that I find, and we've talked about it a little bit, like where brands can be there with their kind of, I call it matching luggage. But what is your view on that? And I think it's kind of from what you've said, be a student of the platform, try and TikTokify the content, make it authentic, lean into what works in the platform. Is that kind of all a summarization? Would there be anything else that you would add?
It's what I think I mentioned it earlier is so some of the obviously TikTok is quite specific in general, quite specific in comparison to many other platforms out there. However, if you specifically look at formats, right, we have YouTube Shorts, we have Instagram Reels, and then we have TikToks, and those ones are pretty similar, right? And again, as we spoke about, with a little bit of adaptation, you can make those work. If you have a short form video asset, you can potentially make that work on all three platforms very well, right? But it needs to be slightly adapted. So my answer is yes and no. It does work, but it still needs a little bit of production work in order to make it suitable. Right? Make it suitable.
And
but in when you say can I take an Instagram campaign and just smack it over to TikTok? No, that wouldn't work.
No, it doesn't. Even it's the fonts and that's the sounds.
Yeah.
And the trends that doesn't work. With the fast pace of digital marketing, how do you manage your work-life balance? Because I've seen you everywhere at the moment. I see you all around the place in lots of events and You're doing amazing things, but how does someone of your caliber have that balance?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question. I feel very lucky that I love what I'm doing. Right? I really enjoy what I'm doing. I'm not such a huge fan of, distinguishing this life work kind of like thing, because to me it's, we
spend so much time at work.
So much time at work, right? So I can only recommend to anyone to really find something you enjoy doing, because if not, half of your life is going to be painful, right?
Yeah.
And then the other half of your life, you have to kind of like manage the other painful side, right? So finding something you enjoy doing is the baseline, and then. But there are a couple of small things that I recently changed, little things as an example, morning routine where I don't get on the tools before the kids are out of the house, and I did not always do that, and it was just a moment a few months ago where one of my daughters asked a very fair question to ask me. There's any question as a young child should be able to ask their dad before they're going to school. And I was not the most patient person in that moment, just because I was distracted by something from work. And that really, resonated with me afterwards and made me feel so bad that I, instantly brought in the rule, no more mobile phone before the kids are out of the house.
Wow,
and also no mobile phone when I get back home until the kids are in bed. Right, so full stop.
So you're really present.
I want to be present, right? And they should be able to ask me anything when I'm there in the house. Should be absolutely fine. So that is a little thing I've done, which has worked really, really well.
Yeah,
makes a huge difference.
Well, you're more,
because if I say I'm not looking at it, I'm just less distracted, and I can be there for the family. Right?
But are you like really healthy? You drink a lot of water. You go and exercise. Do you have like that kind of?
I do like an ice bath now.
Oh, you do the ice bath?
I bought myself an ice bath, like a proper one with a chiller and everything. And
do you do that every day?
No, I do that about 3 to 4 times a week.
Wow!
And that really is quite
centering,
quite impactful, right? I mean, it has it really elevates my mood for a good 2 to 3 hours. It has an impact on my on my focus and my mood, for sure.
I've heard ice baths and saunas. So good for you.
I do that too.
You do saunas too. Yeah. Oh, wow.
And in the days where I cycle to work, past the marina with that beautiful city in front of me is also one of the. It's a highlight going to work, and also for me to kind of like. Tune down after work is 15-20 minute ride only, but that is a great way of just switching off after work and focusing on family.
And do you make sure you take a lunch break, or
Yes.
you're one of those people who sits at your desk and?
I eat lunch very late, so I don't have breakfast, and I usually try to push lunch out to after 2:30, 3 o'clock. Wow. And then. I just function better without anything in my tummy, to be honest. In the mornings, right? So,
what resources do you use to stay on top of it all? Like you've obviously done so well in your career, but that must be because you're a learner. You're a bit of a sponge. I'm assuming you take it all in. Like, how do you stay at the forefront? What are your resources?
Well, I follow the Marketing Masters podcast, of course. Of course, so and then we have a lot of so there's internal trainings that we get, and it's quite a lot, just to keep on top of things that are in our ever evolving company, where everything is continuously fluid, right? New products, new formats, things are changing all the time. So the learning is happening a lot internally, and that goes for me as well as for most of the team. Externally, I really do enjoy LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a great platform.
And it's getting better.
Business platform. It's getting better. It's getting more sophisticated.
Yeah.
I follow some, whatever interests me. I would follow top voices on there, and then automatically I get content on my LinkedIn feed that is potentially more relevant to me, and then sometimes something resonates so much with me that I would actually read it, right? Yeah, I'd say
TikTok and LinkedIn. Go you.
And you.
Funny. And so what are your predictions for the future of digital marketing and social media platforms over the next few years? Do you think, do you think it's going to stay, it's video, it's going to kind of, stay how it is, or do you think there's some shifts that will happen?
So short form video format is
not going anywhere.
No, it's not going anywhere, right? And I think it's it will become more and more sophisticated on various platforms out there, right? But we are born in this format, and sophistication on our platform is increasing. Integration of influencers and creators on our platform, all of these things are not finished, not always kind of like evolving. So I see a lot happening in that area.
Anything about a shop?
Social commerce in general, right? So shoppable post, live shopping, in-app, checkout options, all of that. So social commerce in general is going to be soaring as well
to
in the next few years. There's no reason why it shouldn't come to New Zealand, right? I don't see any reason why it shouldn't come. TikTok Shop is going to be really, really impactful for a market like New Zealand, where the backbone of the industry are small and medium-sized businesses that will be able to really, leverage that format, that product on our platform. So I'm very, very excited about that, but cannot say
anything.
No.
Watch this space.
Watch the space. 100%.
And as we wrap up, because it's been amazing to have you here, have you got one empowering insight or a couple of empowering insights you'd like to give as advice to our listeners to kind of help them take away from the conversation today?
I think when you think about the market in general, then it has less to do with TikTok. The market in general has been a very, very tough one, for other platforms, for publishers, media companies in New Zealand. I just had a conversation a couple of days ago. It's potentially one of the hardest markets New Zealand had since 2008, right? So
maybe even harder than 2008.
Potentially even harder. It's a double dip recession. So during that time, what we're doing is really focusing on building relationships and supporting our partners in the market with solutions, right? Potentially solutions that are going to ease their pain, and that is a pretty general recommendation for anyone that is a part of the current media market out there. Focus on solutions that are potentially supporting your partners out there to, ease their pain. And then once we are through this patch, which is probably not the end of the year, but potentially somewhere mid next year, people will recognize that how you went through the rough patches together with them.
And I also think there's really cost-efficient reach to be had on TikTok. So
there's that as well.
Don't miss out. Thank you so much, Carsten.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an honor to have you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.